Welcome to the most important week of the year for the podcast industry. Welcome to Podcast Movement 2025.
So I'm sitting here today to do this panel on competing for big shows, creators, and audiences with Will Baumann of Fourthwall and Layne Abdine of YMH Studios. I feel privileged to be sitting up here with these two. You know, I'm happy to say that we...
Icons of the industry, right?
Icons of the industry. We do business together. So it's just going to be an electric panel, y'all. To start it out, to give y'all some context, I want these guys to kind of introduce themselves, explain what their companies do. So Will.
What's up, everybody? My name's Will. I'm one of the co-founders and CEO at Fourthwall. And without giving the whole company spiel, we try to make it easy for non-experts to launch cool brands online, from merch shops to subscriptions. You can think of us almost like a Shopify plus Vimeo OTT for creators, podcasters, and anyone who wants to have a cool storefront. We power sites for MKBHD, Cleo Abram, the Acquired Podcast, the whole Smithsonian Institute, TMG Studios, a bunch of the 7 Eckies shows like Bad Friends, and so on. And with that...
And soon to be
YMH.
I'm Layne Abdine. I'm head of ad revenue at YMH Studios. We are a podcasting network with a focus on comedians. So we have shows with some of the funniest people on earth: Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Chris DiStefano. I can go on and on and on. Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee. And so yeah, we started a year and a half ago from scratch, and we've built a network of 20 shows in under 2 years, which is crazy when I say it out loud, but very, very exciting opportunity for us, exciting time for us.
Yeah, so well. Both these guys are so awesome. I'm Layne Pavoggi, CEO of 7 Eckies, not Equus, 7 Eckies, like Dos Equis, but 7 of them. We make and manage shows. So right now we make and manage 13 shows, seated talk shows, podcasts. A few of them just to show y'all, such as Bad Friends, Banging Out, Better Bad Ideas with Sean O'Brien, who's the president of the Teamsters Union. We Rate Dogs, we do their podcast, and a bunch of others. But we have an emphasis on comedy as well, which is part of the reason me and Alan first teamed up, because you know, it's just a good sync. So let me ask you guys this before we get into the specific questions. What types of revenue do y'all generate? Just to give the audience some context. Like when you're making deals, what is your revenue generation? Where's the money coming from?
So for us, it's mostly in merchandising sales. We're a platform that assists with that, and subscription revenue. Those are our 2 primary streams.
We are ad revenue centric. I mean, we have a number of different revenue models. YMH also has a merch business. We have a live events and things like that. In terms of what I oversee, it's the advertising component of the business, plus additional lines of revenue that are ad adjacent.
Copy that.
Does that make sense? Ad adjacent. I don't even know what that means actually.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
We'll deep dive into it later.
It sounded good. At least now live. We'll see it when they upload it. Okay, cool. So I formatted this panel into some specific questions. I'm going to give you a little preview of these questions. One is story time, the chase, the differentiator, the meeting, the mistakes, the flip, and if we get to it, the scenario, and we'll do a Q&A at the very end if we have time. So stay tuned. It's going to be awesome. So let's start with story time, y'all. Share with us, share with the audience, a recent big win for y'all. A show you've acquired, a client that you're proud of, just something to set this all up.
Sure. So one of the sort of premier headliner shows that we didn't acquire, we went into a partnership with was Bad Friends, which is a show that 7 Eckies. Well, you had a horse's podcast on there. It got me confused. So Bad Friends was one of our first big shows that we won after we launched. So we launched with 5 owned and operated shows that we were responsible for on day one, and then I quickly went into sort of like, growth mode, and I mean, I went after some big fish, and one of those was Bad Friends, and I think there's other questions that dig into the process and how I approached it, but that's definitely one of our headliners that we're particularly proud of.
Yeah. Just to dip into Bad Friends a little bit. Can you talk? I could talk about Bad Friends. That's our biggest show at 7 at Keys, a big old show. Can you talk about Bad Friends a little bit? What's your pitch?
My
for Bad
elevator
Friends?
my elevator pitch on Bad Friends.
Pitch the audience Bad Friends.
Okay, so you're going to put me on the spot. Okay, this is not my elevator pitch, but this is me just talking about the show that I love. So it's Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee. It's a topical, personality-driven podcast. 2 comedians who play off very well off of each other. And the thing about this show, it's like it's a massive show in terms of like audience. So we expect to see like 1.5 million plus impressions across all platforms per episode, which makes it a top 20 show just in general. But what's really interesting about the show is that it's continuing to grow. It's continuing to earn new audiences. You see a lot of these shows that like peak, they get big really fast because of these big names, and then people are like, okay, I've heard their shtick, and I'm going to go on to another podcast, because there's so many shows out there that are competing for your attention. But what I find really interesting is that instead of like plateauing, they continue to grow, and they continue to find new audience and retain the ones that started with them from the very beginning.
There we go. Are you buying?
I'm in.
All right, great. All right, Will, you're next.
So for us, question again was like, what's the recent success story for us?
Recent success story.
The one I'm honestly the most hyped about, I can't share, because they haven't launched yet, and they're not going to do for another week or two. Yeah. But so some of the recent ones that I really am like proud of, we landed Viva La Dirt League. They're an Australian sketch comedy troupe. We power their whole website, and they have a subscription service where they showcase unique videos and things like that. We landed them maybe 12, 16 months ago, and they just launched a V2 of the platform with custom badging, that. And so our dev team was working with their team for the better part of like 6 to 9 months, locking in feature scope, making sure these things would work well with other users on the platform, making sure it fit for the audience at scale. Now we have these really cool things like badges that we can talk about with other folks in different series and shows. And so just really excited to have launched that and shepherd that through. There's a lot more interesting stuff to come, but I think that will, hopefully for the next one of these talks, I'll be able to share in full.
And that's a great example of when working with Will, they're at a point, I love working with your team because you're willing to adjust your platform for a specific creator's needs. Just like you're using these deals you're making in order to,
yeah.
Right?
So as a tactical example of that, we're working with Layne and the 7 Eckies team on the Banging Out show, which is Jacob and Kayla Malik, right? Yep. And so for that, they wanted to offer a badge to the first 420 people who signed up as sort of their like founding member badge. And so because we had built this system for Viva La Dirt League, it was trivial to launch that, be able to upsell that, and now they've got this really cool thing for their day ones that they can shout out for the first 420 people, that they've got a permanent badge next to their name that's, I was a Supers fan since day one.
Such a great base. Fourthwall has such a great base model, but you're almost using us as research. I feel like every meeting is researching, okay, what will make this better, right? Yeah, so amazing. All right, let's move on to the chase. You're chasing shows. Why? Why do you go after the clients or shows that you do, Will?
All right, so for us, I would say at a very surface or high level, we chase for shows that are part of the culture, meaning that people see them in their feeds, and if I was to poll this audience, half of you, 70% of you know that particular show. Tactically speaking, we've built like tons of like platform stuff, so we scrape every single social data feed, every single comment ratio, likes, engagements, all that. And then because we have almost 400,000 shows on the platform, we can infer basically from the input social data to the output of like past sales success to have a general good guiding principle of who is likely to do well or not. And so we kind of pair that with both human instinct to see like, hey, this show, they're popping up all in my feed, like compare that and say, hey, it also looks like our numbers say they're going to sell pretty well. That's how we then target. And then we break it down into tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 from kind of a scaling standpoint. And then for the highest potential shows, it's a lot of in-person stuff. James from our team is out here trying to meet up, with different shows and stuff just to make sure we're able to get in front of the people who are the decision makers and who have a shot to succeed.
How important is it for you that tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 is very interesting to me. So you're not just looking at the big all shows. You see value in the smaller shows enough, and they have a subcategory.
Yeah, and so every show is like, every big show is once a small show, and every medium show is once a small show.
Yes.
And so if you only focus on the biggest of the big, that's great, but you're going to miss out on the people who you're going to grow that relationship with from day one. So back to this first 420, like I want to be one of their first 420, like I want to be on top of that, grow with them, give them targeted advice and say, now's the time you should launch a newsletter. Now's the time you should run paid ad spend because it's going to take you from 10K a month to 50K a month. Like there's little levers that each show, because we got to see what works, where people start to ramp up in that curve, that the sooner you get and are able to support someone, you can foster that relationship, you can build trust from day one, and then help them scale and grow in their journey.
Yeah, I love that. Every big show was once a small show. Every big journey starts with a single step, right?
So the chase. Who do I chase? Is that the question?
Yes. Why do you chase the people you chase?
World domination.
Yes. But
no. Okay. No.
What's the first step?
I think it's really important to be very clear about who you are. Like, what are you good at? What are your superpowers? What are you not good at? Right. So for us, we know that we are very good at servicing, topical comedy, personality comedy-driven shows. We know that we are boutique, so we're not there. Our goal right now is not to develop shows from scratch. It's to identify existing shows with audiences, with loyal audiences that we can immediately provide value for, right? So it kind of clarifies things for me. And it kind of filters out a lot of the noise. Like I don't need to I'm not trying to impress, the industry with how many shows that I have. I have 250 shows, No, I have 20 great shows that we can service at a premium expert level. And the reason that we can do that is because we're very clear about who we are, what we can offer, and that's served us very well in the marketplace.
Yeah, it's really good. Something we struggle with at 7 Keys as we're discovering what types of shows. Sometimes we take on shows, and we have found issues like sometimes we have such a diverse portfolio. We do a political show. Sean O'Brien, right, president of the Teamsters, amazing. But we find, not everything works for everyone. So we're kind of stretching ourselves in little other different ways. That doesn't go up the main line, which is awesome. When you're creating new business, there's opportunity there, but there's also some struggles. So yeah, having that defined person or client you chase is just ultimately so helpful. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's move into the differentiator. All right. What separates y'all from the competition? There's plenty of people going after the same people. What is the difference for Fourthwall, Will?
So I think maybe this speaks a bit to what Alan was saying earlier of like knowing your strengths. I think we have the best product for certain people who we're the best product for. And for that, it's people who want to own their own brand, right? It's very simple. Like if you want to build on somebody else's real estate, that's fine. If you want to own your own brand, if you want your .com, if you want your branding, we're the best for that. And so we know that. And for people who that really resonates for and that fits, they should be on Fourthwall, and then it's about finding those folks. For folks who don't have that journey or don't really care, maybe, we have good tooling, we're solid stuff, but, there's genuine pros and cons, and it's a harder sell. And so we really try to target, like, who is the ideal person on Fourthwall? It's people who want to own their own brand, or in the merchandising side, it's people who want to launch a cool line, fashion line to apparel to merch, and don't want to stress how any of the details work. They don't care how it gets from point A to point B. They just want it to be great quality and be easy. So, it's really focusing in, and I think this kind of speaks earlier of just like, focus is hard. It's trying to identify who can benefit from your service or what you're providing and locking in there.
I really, we were talking before, Will, and the proof is in the pudding on this one. The Fourthwall response time is absurd. whether it's James or Will or someone on their team, absurd response time. It really does make a difference. Yeah. You guys respond so fast. You ask a question, it gets answered. You know, it's super important for clients. We're clients in that relationship in a way. And it really makes that huge difference. Just feeling that y'all are always right there.
And from our side, like one of the key metrics we measure internally is reply times. It's a subtle thing. Like you could give bad replies. We don't really.
You actually measure that?
Yeah, because it's a symbol for like, are you on top of your shit? Are you helping people quickly? Right. So yeah.
That's amazing. Dang, I would have bad score on that one. But that's really, really amazing. Now I get why it's so fast. There's pressure. It seems like a lot of pressure. All right, Alan, what's your differentiator?
Well, it goes back to my last answer, which is because we know who we are, we have a very, clear understanding of our business model and who our business model is going to help versus, trying to create a one-size-fits-all, run-of-network DAI type of thing where you're not really servicing the individual, you're servicing the larger network. So in some cases, the larger network, model works. I think for us, we're going to pursue the shows that we know we can provide immediate value, and we can use, case studies of their, friends in the industry to show how we were able to really, superpower their business. So, we are small, and I think that actually is a differentiator in a good way. You can argue, oh, you don't have, billions of dollars of money that you can throw, in an MG. Well, right, but they're also, again, not servicing the show as well as we can. And so the model that we have is very bespoke to the individual show and the individual needs of our partner. I think there's also a differentiator in regards to some of the revenue model decisions that we've made as a company. Probably very controversial in the industry, but we were an early partner of the Spotify video program. And, at a time when most everyone of my colleagues were, suspicious and taking a wait and see type of approach, we took a swing, we took a risk, and it turned out to work out very well, where now there's, something I can add, like double-digit, additive revenue on day one that doesn't affect the ad revenue, the normal ad business, and that's something it's a rare offering that we can offer. So I think that some of the risks, it could have gone the other way, but in this particular case, it worked out for us, and I think it's a very compelling narrative for the right kind of show, right? So again, it's like I'm going to pursue the shows that I know will benefit from what we have to offer, and I'm going to take a pass or send to a competitor shows that I know we're not going to be able to service, and that leads me into tomorrow 9:45 a.m. competitor relationship, podcast
right.
panel.
Yeah, keep your friends close and your competitors closer. His other panel.
But we're talking about big wins right now, so let's stay focused.
All right, okay. All right, we're running out of time here, so let's move on. The meeting. You landed the meeting, right? You have an hour to meet. It's on the GCal. Maybe you're meeting in person. How do you approach a meeting with a big potential client? Let's start with Alan.
If I claim to provide a bespoke solution for a show, then I better provide a personal type of, pursuit, right? So in the case of Bad Friends, this is before I even knew Layne. I flew out from Austin, Texas to LA to sit down and talk about it, not knowing that I wasn't going to close him. I wasn't going to close the show, but I was like, develop the relationship, be able to express very, clearly what our vision was and what we wanted to provide versus, my AI sending his AI email, a message, and there's no authenticity to that. So for me, I feel like if I'm gonna put in the effort to pursue a show, I think it's important for me to again develop the relationship, prove I'm a credible person to have a seat at the table. And then it's my job to earn the business based upon the merits of our business and what we can provide. But I don't think that happens by sending out emails or being fully dependent on Zoom calls. I think it really requires a personal touch.
Yeah, I love that about meeting Alan. He basically like broke down the dang door. Like, I was like, wait, you want to come? Yeah, I'll come tomorrow. And whether you do 50%, 40, 30, 20, 10%, when you're talking about a big show like Bad Friends, that's a lot of revenue. That's worth the pursuit, that personal pursuit. You're getting into some big business together, So that personal touch, that effort was so just like seen from the client side. It's huge. Yeah. So Will.
Well, I'll add on to that as well for the in-person stuff. Like the way Alan and I originally got connected was from James, and this was at South by Southwest this past year. He went to the YM8 party, he met Alan, he befriended him, started hanging out, and then we got a Zoom pitch 2 weeks later. But it's those in-person little moments that really add up and build trust in a way that, like, everyone's just, it's another person behind 5 words on an email, like, whatever. But here, we're all here together. Like, this is the opportunity to meet the one person from a business standpoint that you might, I don't know, maybe don't work with this today, maybe not even this month or next month or 6 months down the road, but maybe a year, next one of these conferences, you retouch, you get back in touch. So I really think there's like a lot of value to like the in-person stuff. I think tactically from us, like we from a bespoke standpoint, you had mentioned this as well, before a bigger pitch call, we do 2 things. One, research. I think everybody like is doing this to some degree, looking up the shows, their story, trying to find the characters and learn about that universe. And then second, we will often build a bespoke like landing page or demo site in Figma, so you can really see how it's going to look and feel with your brand. I think it's often hard to conceptualize like launch your brand, sell merch, subscription membership, but when you see it with your site and your people, your messaging, all that, it feels really real, and you're like, I never want to go back once you've seen it with your branding and logos. So a lot of it's just putting in the work is probably a simple way for it. So
yeah, at 7 Keys, just really quick. Well, a tactic we use is put your money where your mouth is, like even to talent, right? To start a new show, it's like, let's not talk about making a show. Let's just make it. We got a studio right there. Let's do it. We'll do some light set design. We'll get some people in the studio. Let's shoot an episode. See if this is even for you. See if this is something you're interested in, to sit for an hour and talk with someone every week for possibly the rest of your life. Is this your thing? So that's what we'll do. We'll quickly test out pilots. That's part of our process. We've shot 50 pilots, and launched 7 shows, something like that. We'll do pilots real quick, because it's not too much of a lift for us with our infrastructure.
Move fast, fail fast, win fast.
Exactly. Yep. Fail fast, win fast. Yep. All right, cool. Mistakes. Let's talk about the mistakes. Biggest mistakes when dealing with big clients, or anything to speak on as far as mistakes go when doing big deals.
Yeah, I'll jump in here to start. So this isn't really true for us today, but early in our journey, like when you're trying to win a big client, there's sort of an incentive to overpromise or overcommit simply to like close the deal. And so we definitely got ourselves into trouble maybe 4 years ago, where we'd say like, of course this can happen, but like, I thought it'd take 3 months, and it actually took 6 to 9 months, right? And so that, thankfully, you can manage as long as you do deliver. But I think if I was to go back in time, I would do a little less of that, because people, it's classic. You want to under-promise, over-deliver type stuff. Like it's tough when you finally get the pitch meeting with the big person and they say, can it do X? Your incentive so strongly is to say, yep, but you may not be able to actually do that, and you're actually better off saying no, but we can talk through a timeline or roadmap. Like try to be, a little more honest, but collaborative with them, so they can understand where you're coming from, and vice versa. So I think that's something that was, a lesson learned over the span for us in our development cycle.
For me, it's trusting the process. I need to trust the process. I need to be patient. I need to. Sometimes I get really excited. I'm like, it's like I see the kill in front of me. I'm gonna win this business, and I don't take the methodical approach that has proven successful in the past. So it's really more of an internal challenge of stop, being peak Alan and just be like normal Alan, and and again being confident about who you are and what you can and cannot do. And it's about making promises or trying to be a network that we are not built to be, and being confident and being able to walk away when it's appropriate, because that gives you the time to pursue the right shows versus wasting your time on something that you're never going to win in the first place. And I get fired up. I get excited. I'm like, oh, I can do this. I want to win. I want to win. It's like that adrenaline rush. And it's like, okay, just take a breath. Meditate, whatever you got to do, and go back to the core, the core things that have worked for you in the past.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll speak on that a bit. You got to live in the house you build, right? And so I say that all the time because it's true. And when I first started doing our piloting process, we didn't have any hard lines when it came to getting rid of a show. Like if a show isn't performing, once we've uploaded 10, 20, 30 episodes and it's just not doing it, we have to cut the show. At first, it was really emotional, like crying in the room emotional. That was a hard lesson learned. Now, hard lines in the piloting process, right? We shoot the pilot. We greenlight the pilot. We do 8 to 12 episodes, depending on the show, right? And these are weekly 1 hours, mostly what we do at 7 at Keys. And there's a hard line, viewership goals, detailed out. And so if it doesn't hit those, there's no emotion to it. It's just, hey, we didn't hit, let's work on something else. Let's do something new. It gets rid of the emotion and it gives the client, for me, my clients, right? It gives them something to pursue as well. So ultimately, beautifully beneficial, those hard lines. Yeah. Okay, cool, the flip. I don't know if you guys got this one. If you were in a potential client's shoes, right? You're being courted by a company like yourself. What are some of the necessary details and expectations you'd have to seriously consider doing business?
So you didn't coach us on this question.
No.
It's totally unfair. No.
Yeah.
So, I think that I would want authenticity. Like you see a lot of people throwing out big numbers like, oh, we have 10 billion, impressions on the network, whatever. It's like all those numbers are arbitrary. Like I want to go into partnership with a person that understands who we are and what our problems are versus saying, I know what your problems are and here's my solution to your problems, regardless of whether they actually exist or not. So I think it's really about, I would want to, I would want the network or, to put in the effort of trying to understand who we are and how they can actually service us in a human and authentic way, versus just sending me, their standard templated, pitch.
I would say I think of it the same way as I think of like recruiting. It's do your reference checks, right? Like almost everyone here knows somebody else who's been pitched or has worked with, whether it's us or another platform, whatever. Like you're 1 degree away, max. Right? Just find someone who's worked there and just ask, how was it? I think it's sometimes that simple where it's like it's one extra step that feels a little hard, but like often these things are big business decisions, year-long deals, and like just do a simple check with somebody else who's done it. That'll give you probably all the insights. They're either going to say, yep, it was great, love working with them, or I had some issues, here's why, maybe you should carve this out, or like, that was terrible, I would never do that again, right? Like, and just, these different scenarios vary for different folks, but I really think of it as the same as recruiting. Like, just do the reference checks. You're 1 degree away max from anyone else there, and just check in, see what their experience is.
Yeah. We're running out of time, so we're not going to do scenario, but I'll just chime in on expectations. Just hard lines, super clear. It's not bad. It's a good thing, when it comes to everything, like IP, revenue share, creative. Who's doing the one sheets, right? You're doing political podcasts. They want one sheets. Who's doing it? Their team, your team, right? Those clear lines, so there's less of that muddiness. That's what I would want to know. Just super clear. What is everyone doing, right? All right, y'all. Let's end it with one last big piece of advice for landing the big deals from Will and Alan to end the last 30 seconds. Will, let's start with you.
This is just simple thing, but like you can just DM or cold email people. Like no one's gonna open the deal but you. Nobody cares but you. So just try it. Worst case, it's same as today where they ignore you.
Authenticity. Just be yourself. be confident in who you are, and the right partners will come.
I love that. That's what I told myself before getting up on this stage. All right, y'all. Here, if y'all want more info, since we didn't get to do Q&A, feel free. This is my company, 7 Net Keys. Feel free to hit me up. If you guys want to shout out where they can contact you.
I'm at Will at Fourthwall, Fourthwall, like breakingthefourthwall.com, or just come find me after this.
Yeah, here all week, and Abdine, my last name, at ymhstudios.com.
All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed the panel. It was lovely having each and every one of you. Can we have a round of applause, please?